Of my favorite airlines, ANA is probably the most unique. I assume you've seen their room cabin in business class. Incredible, yes. Rare, also yes. The vast majority of their fleet features a different seat that feels almost military-esque. Many of my usual favorite soft products elements like hot towels and dine on demand don't exist here, but I still love them even though they're definitely not the most luxurious. Why? Well, come along to experience the magic of ANA across 12 hours of flying on 2 flights from Sydney to Tokyo to Seoul. Let's go. Stay tuned for the incredible redemption I got on this flight at the end of the video and how anyone in the world can easily score the same deal, as well as how to find a word space. Today's adventure starts in Sydney after 3.5 incredible days exploring. Last time I was in Sydney, Oscar and I had flown down on our first ever first-class flight, Thai Airways, on their 747 back in 2017. What a time that was. I arrived worried about Sydney Airport since I've heard understaffing is a huge problem here, but everything is an absolute breeze and we get to the lounge in no time. After a quick hop into the Air New Zealand and Singapore Airlines KrisFlyer lounges, which our business class tickets entitle us to, it's already time to go to the gate. After so many years, I finally get to take you guys along to fly what I at least think is one of my favorite airlines in the world, but I haven't flown them nearly as many times as Singapore Airlines or Qatar, so it's always up to the test. The ANA 787-9 comes in a 3-class configuration, and along with their 787-8, it's the backbone of their fleet. My aircraft features 40 business class seats in a 1-to-1 layout, with seats in a staggered configuration, alternating between being closer to the windows and closer to the aisles. Let me emphasize something. I cannot tell you how much better the seats close to the windows are. They are in a completely different league on ANA. Best of all is 9A, with remarkable privacy since there's no seat next to it. I booked super late and ended up in 11H. Yes, it's still business class, but honestly not a seat I'd recommend. Let's see what I mean as we hop on board. Welcome to ANA Business Class. This is by far the most common ANA cabin, and as you can tell, it's modern in a Japanese sort of way. The finishes, especially the Japanese walls, are not super fresh or anything, but I'll get to why I love it in my conclusion. Premium economy looks great and has a similar finish. The business class cabin has a variety of seats, as you can tell, and given our last minute booking, Oscar and I are in the very last rows, with Oscar in the more private middle seat and me exposed for the world to see. These seats are unfortunately so far from the windows, even though they're technically window seats. One benefit of having such wide compartments on the side of the seat is that your feet have a massive space to move around, which makes sleeping a lot more comfortable. The seat is a little more private than you'd expect when seated in the aisle like this, given the staggered configuration. It's really not too bad, it's just that the even numbered rows are so much better. Also, although there isn't any closed storage, this surface is more than sufficient and you're on a Japanese airline, so theft seems highly unlikely. I'll show you around a little more after takeoff, but first, a choice between water, champagne, or orange juice, Japanese size. There are also slippers waiting at the seat upon boarding, along with a little bag and a shoehorn. At 12 p.m. on the dot, we begin our pushback, taxi out on a beautiful afternoon, I guess, and finally depart with sweeping views of Sydney. The 787 wing is so sleek, almost as sleek as 787K subscribers. You can help me reach that, or 777K or 757K, by hitting that subscribe button now. It's free and literally only takes a second. Speaking of a second, it takes me a second to understand the headphone hook, even though I literally flew this seat 1 month prior. It's actually such a great design that I wish more airlines would use. The same goes for the placement of charging ports, your remote, and the seat controls. The Inflight service starts with ANA's version of hot towels, package towels. It doesn't give quite the same luxurious vibe, I'm not gonna lie. Shortly after, an amuse-bouche is served, and I learned the Sydney airport makes pretty awesome pesto. This tastes great. great. I guess this is a good time to have a look at the menu, which I love. The drink options on ANA are so interesting, and I've always wanted to order the coffee journal in the sky. For food, you see both the options from Japan and to Japan, with a Japanese choice and a Western choice. My special meal ends up being a bit of a hybrid, but the real food highlight doesn't come until it's time for the snack menu, so stay tuned. My meal begins with the starter, all served on one tray. Healthy, yes. Flavorful, a little. ANA's signature aromatic kabuso always hits the spot though. So does their onboard matcha for that matter. The main course is pretty funny because I've never been served gyoza on an airplane before. I'm a fan. If you've ever tried Trader Joe's vegetable dumplings, these taste identical. It almost makes me suspect they use the same manufacturers. For dessert, well, I could choose fruit, but I opt out of that, instead choosing to work and connect to the Inflight Wi-Fi, which offers 3 reasonably priced plans. In terms of entertainment, English options on ANA are quite limited, but not so bad you won't find anything. Well, besides TV shows, because you really won't find any good Western shows here. Naturally, they have plenty of completely unhinged Japanese variety shows though. You tend to realize 10 hours is a long time on daytime flights like this, especially if you're just working, so you cruise at what feels like snail speed. On today's flight, we avoid Guam due to a typhoon, but even so, it's so cool how many interesting places you pass over on this route. I mean, look at this. ANA is the airline of amenities, so obviously on a flight this length, there is a lot to choose from. It all starts with this amenity kit, which is basically stocked with the bare essentials. That's because the galley is stocked with a huge basket of everything you could possibly need, with even more items in the lavatory. By the way, ANA's lavatories feature Japanese toilets with bidets, and that's the next best thing to an in-flight shower if you ask me. Now, a message from Real Life Dan. Is there something interfering with your happiness or preventing you from reaching your goals? Regardless of whether you have clinical mental health issues like depression or anxiety, or if you're just a human who lives in this world and is going through a hard time, therapy gives you the tools you need to approach your life in a very different way. And that is why I'm so excited to tell you about today's video sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp's mission is to make therapy more affordable and more accessible, and this is an important mission because finding a therapist can be really hard, especially if there are limited options in your area, or like me, you're traveling all the time. BetterHelp is a platform that makes finding a therapist easier because it's online, it's remote, and by filling out a few questions, BetterHelp can match you with a professional therapist in as little as a few days. It's easy to sign up and get matched with a therapist. There's a link at the top of the description. It's betterhelp.com/nonstopdan. Clicking that link supports my channel, but it also gets you 10% off your first month with BetterHelp, so you can connect with a therapist and see if it helps you. And because finding a therapist is a little like dating, if you don't really fit with that therapist, you can easily switch for free without stressing about insurance, choosing your network, or anything like that. So if you're struggling, consider online therapy with BetterHelp. It's at the link at the top of the description, or again, betterhelp.com/nonstopdan. Thanks again to BetterHelp for supporting my channel. The sun outside starts to set and I realize, oh my god, I need to keep eating to try out all the food. After all, ANA serves the world famous Ippudo plant-based ramen on board, and it's not gonna eat itself. I also ordered the corn soup since corn has somehow become my 2023 food obsession out of nowhere. The crew arrives in less time than it takes me to remove my finger from the call bell when I press it, and eventually bring me this outrageously delicious feast. The ramen with its accompanying chili sauce and seaweed is heavenly, but can I just say, this corn soup? It's like dessert after the ramen. It's literally worth flying ANA just for this corn soup. Speaking of heaven, I love the ANA bed. So I'm mortified to say I forgot to record it. All I got a shot of is the mattress pad, which is what makes the bed so awesome. The bed is super comfy by business class standards. One small drawback for sleep though is that the 787-9 does not feature individual air vents. An hour and a half before landing, this delicious fried rice is served. It's also kind of giving Trader Joe's, but hey, I love Trader Joe's, so no complaints. You will not go hungry on ANA, that's for sure. Touchdown at Tokyo Haneda. Oscar and I head to the Royal Park Hotel at Terminal 3. Alright. 20 minutes after getting off the plane, we're already in a hotel room here at the Royal Park Haneda. It's so funny what you get for $200 a night in Japan. It's like really different from most places, but of course the service is so much better than anywhere else. Immigration, customs, finding the hotel, checking in all in 20 minutes is absolutely insane because this hotel is landside, not airside. So we're ready for a convenient night's sleep. See you tomorrow for the flight over to Seoul for an Intra-Asian ANA experience. This is the view from our hotel room. Good morning, Mount Fuji. Oh, good morning from Tokyo. How I wish we could stay here longer. Just landing and getting a little taste of the culture like this is enough to make you go, please let me stay. But now it's time to fly to another awesome place, Seoul, South Korea. So we're just gonna, actually we have our boarding passes, so we'll head through security and then we'll show you the ANA lounge before hopping over on the 2.5-hour flight to Seoul. Boarding pass is already in hand. We clear security and head to the ANA International Business Class Lounge at Haneda, which is packed. I'm pretty much over most business class lounges nowadays, apart from the food, and this is no exception. The buffet is small, but has some delicious options and even a noodle curry bar. We chill here for a little while before heading to our gate, where yesterday's plane's little sibling, a 787-8, awaits. This is my first time flying an ANA 787-8, and this one has an international configuration. It's difficult to notice the difference from the 787-9. I'll give you a second to spot it. Yes, for whatever reason, the configuration here is 121 and 111 in alternating rows, meaning there are some fantastic throne seats in the middle. Again, having booked so last minute, I'm stuck in one of the seats further from the window, in this case 2C. This seat is simultaneously fascinating and hilarious. Stay tuned as I show you around it next. So it is 787-8 time and another game of Spot the Difference. I'm guided to my seat by a flight attendant who introduces herself by name and already knows my special meal order the second I board. Wow. This cabin is sort of similar to the 787-9, but feels even older and more militaristic. Just look at this tray table design. Despite the last century vibes, I prefer this table on the 787-8 since it allows you to exit while using it, while the 787-9 table does not. There are some subtle differences in the seat electronics and on the side here, and you're even further from the windows in this seat, crazily enough. The lovely crew comes around distributing immigration forms along with optional pens, something all airlines should do in premium cabins when handing out immigration forms, and pass by with a basket of amenities. Pretty impressive on such a short flight. There is no other pre-departure service though, and on the minute we're scheduled to depart, we push back and leave Tokyo behind. Takeoff views galore. If only I didn't have to reach so insanely far to see out the window. I look around a little more and realize the 787-8 has individual air vents, another reason to prefer this over the 787-9. Also, the lavatories have windows on the -8. How awesome. Windows and a Japanese toilet? It doesn't get better than this. Our menu today is smaller than the previous flight, obviously, with no choices for mains. Still, the meal service is mighty impressive. It starts with some crackers and more ANA signature kabuso, yum, and shortly after, my vegetarian oriental meal is brought out, which is massive. It tastes a lot better than it looks. I love this meal. I spent most of the flight working, enjoying some hojicha along the way. The crew, in typical ANA fashion, notices I'm an av geek and bring me a couple of postcards. How sweet. Reminds me of my flight a month prior from Jakarta to Tokyo when the crew gave me this. As we start approaching Gimpo Airport, I reflect on why I love ANA so much, even though the experience isn't the most luxurious. Something about ANA just makes me feel incredibly secure and relaxed. Being on an ANA plane feels like being in a flying fortress to me. You know that you can trust the staff, you can trust the experience, and it's really special in a Japanese way. Some people try ANA and don't love it, and I understand why. It's not the flashiest experience, and that is why I like it. If you embrace it for all its quirk and the Japaneseness, that's when it becomes wonderful. It's also incredibly consistent, features a great seat, more amenities than you could ever need, and generally makes me happy, which is the most important thing. The ramen and corn soup are also reason alone to fly with them. Now, how much did I pay? After all, ANA is one of the most expensive airlines in the world. Would you believe me if I told you I paid just $600 for the 10-hour flight from Sydney to Tokyo? How? Well, let's go over to real life time for him to explain. So of course, just like every video, the secret is using points. You can use all types of different points for this. Specifically from Sydney to Tokyo, it's an exceptional value using, drumroll, Air Canada Aeroplan points. As always, I redeemed just 45,000 points, which you can buy on sale for $13 per 1,000 points, meaning that's about equivalent to $600 one way, which is absolutely incredible. You know it's even more incredible earning those points for free if you're an American or a Canadian, but in this case, I'm gonna tell you one more time about this limited time sign-up bonus for one of the best cards. It's an exceptional value. You get a total of 60,000 points for signing up for the American Express Green Card. You can sign up for that and learn more if you're an American at the link at the top of the description, or well, somewhere down there at least. If you apply there, you're also supporting my channel and my work, so I really greatly appreciate it. Once again, 60,000 points. This flight, 10 hours, was only 45,000. Such a good value. So on that note, thank you so much for watching, guys. Until I see you in the next video, fly safe.